Let's recap UFC 330. UFC 330 was actually a pretty good card, even if the two title fights were pretty lackluster and weren't that fun, which seems to happen a lot when it comes to UFC events. It was overall a really good card. We saw the Mammoths and Sabretooths get avenged by Jeremiah Wells. We saw Unks get slimed out. We also saw Unks fraud checking. It was a pretty good card overall. To start off with, let's start with Islam Makhachev versus Ian Garry, the most interesting fight ever. It's not as boring as people make it out to be, but it was not as fun as some like hardcore like UFC fans are like. This was actually a very fun fight. It was very technical. All this blah blah. It was a very mid fight. It wasn't the worst main event I've ever seen, but it wasn't a fun fight. It was definitely more entertaining than Islam versus JDM, which was just a one-way traffic of Islam just hugging on JDM and making him pretty much cry. But this fight is interesting. I scored it 3-2. I just thought Islam convincingly won the rounds he won, in that Ian Garry only won rounds 3 and 4. I know there's a lot of talk of what that if Ian Garry actually won round 4, if I'm not mistaken. But if you see round 4, which I have the stats pulled up, Islam didn't do much that round. I was rewatching it. I don't even think he got one takedown, but Ian Garry was able to like reverse and get back up to his feet. And I don't remember the other takedown. It might have been the same action. But yeah, Islam didn't really do much this round. He kind of spent most of the round in clinch, in which Ian Garry was like constantly smacking him in the face pretty much, landing some damage. That's where mostly you see all these famous photos of Islam's face after the fight. He's like, oh my God, looking like GSP after his Hendricks fight. But a lot of that came off of round 4. In round 3, Ian Garry like I guess hit Islam in the nose. Like you can see damage after round 3 of his like upper nose. First, Islam said he thought he got it broken, but it wasn't. But I don't know. I watched round 3 and I didn't know where that came from. But round 4 is where most of like the punishment Islam took was in there. But even saying that, like it was still a pretty close round, and it's one of those things where do you give Islam the round because of control time and trying to take him down and all that and pressure, or you give Ian Garry the round for like causing punishment, doing some damage, significant amount of damage, not nothing like career altering or fight ending, but enough to make a visible impact. I personally gave it to Ian Garry because I'm not the biggest fan of fighters just clinching and holding and not doing much with their takedowns and causing no damage, no sub attempts, and getting around after that. If the other fighter is actually trying to do damage or strikes or whatever and throwing up sub attempts or whatever. Obviously, Ian Garry didn't throw any sub attempts, but he was actually constantly hitting him with like little pity patty strikes that actually did damage. A good example would be like the Volkov versus Almeida fight, which Volkov spent most of his time on his back and Almeida just sat on him. But Volkov was actually trying to, pity patter and cause damage with strikes from the bottom, and that got him the win. Almeida did nothing that fight. And I'm not comparing one for one with Islam in the Ian Garry fight because Islam actually, dominated round 2. When you do the full 1 through 5 breakdown, overall, if you tell me who won this fight, Islam won this fight convincingly. And if you do round by round, Ian Garry's best round is round 4. You could argue round 3, I guess, since he convincingly won it on all judges' scorecards. But I think he did the most damage in round 4. But round 2 for Islam was a dominant round. Not saying it was a 10-8 round, but like he controlled him, he took him down, he landed some right hands. Obviously, he landed the kick off a right hand when he separated from the clinch after Ian Garry reversed him and knocked him down, had him in a little trouble that round. Like, that was a very, very dominant round from Islam. But yeah, overall, this fight was kind of, I don't really understand Ian Garry's game plan. I thought, like the commentaries mentioned, that he was going to be moving around, circling in and out, throwing some shots from distance, which a lot of this fight was kind of at distance. And Islam didn't really do too much outside of round 2 of like actually hurting Garry with anything. He threw some good high kicks, surprisingly enough, that were able to reach Garry. Obviously, Garry was able to lean back or block him. But a lot of Ian Garry, all he did was like throw body kicks and oblique kicks. And he would sneak a few head kicks here and there. And none of them actually landed. Islam was able to block them all. I think in round 3, I want to say, Ian Garry actually threw a high kick and like Islam blocked it, but you heard it. Like it was a pretty good high kick, but at the end of the day, it didn't really hurt him. And yeah, that was this fight. Islam clinching, throwing some calf kicks, throwing some right hands, not hitting a bunch, getting against the fence, takedowns in the open, Ian Garry scoot to the fence, a lot of clinching. It was not the most entertaining fight. It was kind of like what you expect. There was not many sub attempts. I think Islam was able to get Ian's gear back one time in this fight, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, Ian Garry did a pretty good job of like, not getting dominant like JDM. But like he just didn't do enough. And that's my main like critique of Ian Garry this fight. Like he just didn't do enough. He didn't throw enough. I'm not sure if he was scared of Islam. I'm not sure if he was scared of Islam, getting takedowns from him or whatever. But like he just, even when they're at distance, he just didn't throw nearly enough. I think his corner even mentioned that he needed to throw more. And yeah, that was kind of the fight. I think one thing to mention, since like round 1 and 2 were pretty clearly Islam's, he slowed down in round 3. Whether it was the body kicks Ian Garry was landing, or he just slowed down because all the wrestling. But he did slow down in round 3, which is why I think it became where Ian Garry was able to pick up, because Ian Garry, this ended up being like cardio was fine. His cardio was actually pretty good during this fight. And he actually had a lot of gas in the tank. That's why I'm kind of surprised he didn't throw more strikes. How many did he throw? He threw 141. I think he could definitely throw in more strikes. I actually like the front kicks. I think he threw like 1 or 2 in round 3, I want to say. And I was like, ooh, that was a pretty good. They didn't land. I was like, I just wish he threw more, to be honest with you. Round 5 was, I think, pretty Islam's round. Ian Garry didn't do much in round 5, to be honest with you. Total strikes, 19-19. Signature strengths, 0 for Islam, 7 for Garry. Because, Islam was trying to, like, secure the round. He was throwing little pity patter strikes when he got Garry on the ground. But yeah, once he got the takedown, like, halfway through, it was kind of just over. There's not much Ian Garry could have done to win that round. And he wasn't able to, like, in round 4, able to throw like all these little strikes at Islam to cause some damage. So yeah, that was a fight. It was overall a mid fight. I don't think as bad as people said, but like I really wish both fighters could have definitely done more. Particularly Ian Garry. I actually blame Ian Garry for a lot of it, for just not throwing more in the open when he had opportunities to do so. He just didn't. But yeah, I think it was a good performance from Islam. I think people are kind of harping on like, oh, it was a boring performance. Oh, he took the more damage, blah, blah, blah. But it's like at the end of the day, it is Islam at 170. He did defend his belt. And I would say from all the double champs who I think went up and actually defended their belts, he probably has the best win out of all of them. I think John Jones defended his belt against Stipe, an old man Stipe. Alex Pereira actually defended his belt, but like Alex defended his belt, had 3 wins, defended his belt like 3 times. But like I think light heavyweight is a more like natural. I think Alex Pereira is a light heavyweight naturally. I don't see him as a heavyweight, and I don't really see him as a middleweight. So I don't like, even though he defended his belt, he never defended his middleweight belt. So I don't really think that's like a fair thing. And I forgot the other fighters off the top of my head who were double champs and tried to defend their belt, or didn't even defend their belt and lost it. I think McGregor, not mistaken, didn't even defend his belt in lightweight. He kind of just lost it to Khabib. But yeah, I think overall it was a okay fight. Mackenzie Dern, Robertson, this fight was, it looks on paper when you read like, okay, 237 strikes, 239, a bunch was landed. But to be quite frank with you, it was a pretty boring fight. Mackenzie Dern just kind of dominated this fight. Robertson just didn't have anything going for her. Dern just was better in every area, but had like no finishing. Like that's the only thing give Robertson, that she did a pretty good job of not getting submitted. But yeah, she just looked stiff, unathletic, and her strikes were like doing no damage. If anything, her strikes are probably helping Mackenzie Dern. Anything, I'm not joking when I say this. Mackenzie Dern probably has Mackenzie Dern probably has more massage, has had tougher massages than Robertson has put. I don't have much to say about this fight. I'm gonna keep it real with you. I went to the bathroom during this fight. I kind of realized like round 3 or whatever that there's not gonna be a finish. Didn't really watch this fight. Call me a casual, but like this is just shows like the low level of women's MMA nowadays, or kind of like always. And there's like very few entertaining good fighters in women's MMA. Like Robertson was just like what, the 5th ranked person in the strawweight division, and then Mackenzie Dern was like, the champ. And it was kind of one of those fights where like the striking out of both these women was terrible. I know the commentary was like, oh my god, Mackenzie Dern's striking has improved, which it has, but by UFC standards, it's still really bad. It's just Mackenzie Dern just didn't know how to strike. Like, she didn't know how to throw 1 or 2. She knew how to throw kicks. She was shadow boxing. That's what Robertson was doing most of this fight, was shadow boxing. Like, I don't even know what to say about this fight, and that's all I'm gonna say about this fight. I didn't watch like the last few rounds. It was just a pretty dominant, convincing Mackenzie Dern win. Jalen Turner versus Kyle Fernandez. Um, yeah, pretty quick fight. Jalen Turner just looked better in like the minute we saw it. It was pretty much, Kyle Fernandez did this limpy spinning back fist or elbow or whatever it was. Jalen Turner just like waited and just like caught him with like a 1-2 or whatever. Got him to the ground, just started pouring onto him. Fernandez went like unconscious for a split second, stopped the fight, and that was it. Yeah, I forget why this fight came up, but I think it was a short notice fight, if I'm not mistaken. But I feel like this was a pointless fight for both of these fighters. Jalen Turner is going to go back down to 155. I think he mentioned fighting Fiziev and someone like that. Or was it Tom Nolan at 155? So we'll see about that, but that was a slime out. Malik versus Stoltzfus. This was a crafty Unk win. I did not expect it. Malik just looked stuck in the mud. He didn't really. I don't even know what to even say. I don't even know what to say. Like, Stoltzfus just kind of ran through him. Like, Stoltzfus just not care about Malik's power, and Malik just kind of took it, unfortunately, and he was able to submit him. I'm trying to remember this fight, but like, Stoltzfus just kind of just like ran up to him and was able to submit him. Like, I don't even know. It was just a crafty vet win, and I don't know. Malik was very disappointing. He has all this power, or he looks like he has all this power and all these physical advantages, but when it came fight time, it just didn't seem like he did. And Stoltzfus just unked him out, I guess. Now, this was an unk slime out, and this is what I expected from the Malik fight. Is like, Rubovic just ran through Barboza. Barboza just could not hang with Rubovic, and it was just a sad fight. It was kind of clearly on, like you see the odds, that this was just an unk slime out. Barboza was going to retire, I think. And yeah, they just kind of fed him a prospect. And honestly, I'm kind of disappointed Rubovic didn't finish in the first round. You can make a strong case the corner should have stopped it going to round 2. But I think they realized, like, oh, let Barboza go out on the shield. And yeah, Rubovic just dominated him. Like, it was just a beating. He could do whatever he want. And Barboza didn't even attempt any clinches. He didn't attempt any takedowns. He kind of just stood there and took it. And that was pretty much it. Rubovic just got off whatever he wanted to get off. And Barboza just, like, tried to circle out, but he wasn't doing a good job. He was just getting beat up. So it was an unslam out. Always love Barboza. Never ducked any opponents. Took a lot of hard fights. Was a very entertaining fighter. But I think it was his time to go. Joel Alvarez versus Chide. Don't know how to pronounce that last name. This fight was a glorified sparring match. And that's all I can say about it. Look at these strikes. This fight was just such a weird fight. It's like if both fighters agreed, hey, this is a short notice fight. We're just going to go out there and, shake hands and just do a glorified sparring match. There was like no clinch initiation from Yoel. It was literally just them close together, Muay Thai, and Chide, it was in his Muay Thai stance, just, pity pattering Yoel Alvarez. That was his fight, and he got dominated. Yoel didn't do anything in this fight. It was just them going back and forth, but Chide was just throwing more. That's it. There was no stuns. There was no wobbling. It was just, it was literally a Muay Thai fight. That's all it was. It was not a fun fight. This is probably one of the most boring fights on the card besides the Mackenzie Dern fight. And yeah, it was literally a glorified sparring match. Yoel didn't do anything. Chide just kind of was like, I guess, hit him a few times. It was literally a sparring match. It felt like they agreed, okay, we're just going to spar out there, click a paycheck, and call it a day. Charles Johnson for Chapelon. Very fun fight. Chapelon looked really good early on, but I think the short notice fight kind of, as you can see, kind of has a little muffin top. Looks better shape than me, but, he kind of gassed out in round 2, I want to say. Then round 3, he was fully gassed out. Obviously, he had that round 1, he had that thing, I think it was round 1. Yeah, it was round 1 where I poked him, then handed a right overhand or a left or something like that. And like Charles Johnson pretty much almost got knocked down and stuff like that. And illegally kneed him, right? But it wasn't because and so it looked like Chaplin was kind of like dominant in round one, but it was an illegal knee. I think he still won the round, but I think a lot of that round coming off was just, Chaplin with the eye poke and was able to catch him off the eye poke. Still point deduction. Shout out Jason Herzog for actually point deducting someone after two fouls back to back. Most refs just don't do that. And yeah, even though I still think Chaplin won the first round, Charles didn't really do much the first round. Chaplin was like pressuring him a lot, didn't respect Charles's power, was landing really good shots to the head and to the body, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, to the body, a lot of good body shots. Round two, Chaplin, a really good round, a very competitive round. Chaplin was able to knock down Charles and had him a lot of trouble. But you saw later on in this round, Chaplin started to slow down, which a lot of it I think is due to the very high pace that flyweights. It was a catchweight because at 130, but flyweights fight at. Also because of the short notice fight, it was at 130. Probably wasn't in the best shape of his life, but started to slow down at the end of the third round, or center round. Even though he got the knockdown, I think this was a pretty good round for Charles. Round three obviously happened, and yeah, it was a pretty dominant round from Charles. Chaplin just slowed down. He was throwing, but by the end of round three, he was kind of gassed out, able to get to the ground. I forget if Charles knocked him down to the ground or I forget how he got to the ground, but he was able to get around, get the Scottish Twister, call the day, convincing Charles win. A little adversity, but I think a lot of adversity was simply the fact that Chaplin's actually a good fighter, and the eye poke, obviously. Dante Johnson, Eric, I don't even know how to pronounce his last name, but like a mini Khalil Roundtree. Saying mini, even though he's a middleweight. But yeah, he's just pretty much, he looks like Khalil Roundtree, like a smaller Khalil Roundtree. Quick fight. Dante Johnson just ran through him. He kind of had the DDP-esque of striking, just threw overhands and unfundamental striking. It was a good job, just ran through him. It was just pretty much that. Landed overhand right, slimed him out. It was over. Shout out Dante Johnson. Talked about Jesus and stuff. Shout out him, I guess. Okay, versus Gore. Yeah, this fight. I forgot about this fight. Tresean Gore actually looks improved from when he originally came into the UFC. But this is like a washed up Vicente Luque at middleweight, muffin top Vicente Luque, who's like washed from his brain bleed. He had an opportunity to finish on Anaconda or Darce. I forget which one it is. I always confuse them. But I guess, I don't know how Tresean Gore survived. I guess because his knees were on the mat, he was able to survive. I don't know. But yeah, that was kind of his only opportunity to finish this fight. And after that, it was pretty much just Gore beating him up, especially in round two. It was a pretty boring fight. Yeah, Luque, yeah, he just washed. Early prelims, Rafael Tobias versus Fernando. Um, I forgot what happened in this fight. Oh, Fernando just ran through him. I'm surprised he didn't knock him out in round one, but it was just a freight train of just he was just more athletic, better striker. Just he was just more powerful than Tobias, and he just wasn't scared of him. Just ran through him pretty much, and that's pretty much it. He just ran. He was just better built, better looking, whatever. He was just better in all areas and just ran through him. That's literally what happened. That's all, bro. Look at this round three. Did nothing. Just got steamrolled. So that's that fight. Neil Magny, crafty vet, Unk win. Ramirez, I think that's pronounced his name. Ramahame, I don't pronounce his name. Call him this dude. Pretty dominant win from Neil Magny. Didn't really. He just gassed out. This dude just gassed out pretty much, and Neil Magny just won. And that's how Neil Magny kind of wins. He's an unk. He's able to last long. He's able to finish fights with sub attempts. And I guess he's able to finish fights. And yeah, he just kind of won. This dude just gassed out. I don't think he was good in the first place. He was the favorite, but like he lost to someone. I forget who he lost to, but yeah, he isn't the best. He's not really a prospect, to be honest with you. It's just kind of a weird fight. Neil Magny actually usually fights better fighters than this dude. And he's able to he's like a 10 to 20 gatekeeper. Like if you want to enter the top 20, you kind of have to beat Neil Magny. And I guess we just found out this guy just isn't top 20 material. And the first fight of the night, Jeremy Miles Orblai. This man send the regards. Orblai, I guess they didn't have striking defense 3,000 years ago. But yeah, it was a pretty disappointing fight. Orblai was kind of being very dominant, right? I think he was cruising on his way to a decision win, obviously with his takedowns and stuff like that. But one thing about this fight is that Jeremiah Wells, every time he touched Orblai, it like hurt him, right? Like Orblai was like visibly affected by getting hit. Like I don't think he's ever been hit that hard in his 3,000 years of living. And so yeah, round three, Wells was able to hit him with, I forget what he hit him with. I think it was overhand right or left or whatever. He hit him hard. Orblai was visibly affected. Shot in for a panic takedown. Got his head caught and got submitted. And yeah, I think it kind of teaches like Orblai maybe isn't as good as we think. He's a good wrestler and has like a good ground game, but like his striking defense is poor. His striking overall is poor. And yeah, he's just not as good as I think we thought he was. And yeah, that was pretty much UFC 330. Fun card overall. Obviously, it was a pretty lackluster it was a pretty lackluster two title fights. But I think it's good overall. Is further cements his GOAT status. And yeah, thanks for watching.